Hey everyone. You might have heard some buzz lately about this new AI tool called DeepSeek. It's uh it's everywhere right now, and people are saying it can do everything. From writing your emails to like planning out your whole vacation. Sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Almost too good to be true. Well, that's what we're going to be looking at today in our deep dive into DeepSeek. We're going to go beyond the hype and see, what's really going on, and especially what it could mean for your data.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really interesting to me is that DeepSeek has kind of blown past all of its American competitors, like
Right.
in the race to, develop the best AI. And what's really crazy is that they seem to have done it for way less money. So that begs the question, how did they manage that? And is there a catch?
Yeah. So let's unpack that a little. We're
Mhm.
talking about artificial intelligence, right? Which, I mean, to some people that might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but really what it is just these complex algorithms that are crunching tons and tons of data to learn and perform tasks and all that. And cybersecurity experts have been doing some digging. They've been using their own AI tools actually to look into DeepSeek's code, and they found something kind of hidden in there.
Yeah, they found this little piece of code that seems to be making a connection to a website called cmpassport.com. Now, you probably haven't heard of that site before, but it's actually the online portal for China Mobile, which is this huge telecommunications company, and it's owned and operated by the Chinese government. And here's where things start to get a little worrying. China Mobile was actually banned in the US back in 2019, and the reason for that was national security concerns.
Hold on. So you're saying there could be a direct line from this,
Yeah.
seemingly harmless AI tool right to the Chinese government? That's not good, right?
Well, it's definitely something we need to pay attention to. And it gets even more complicated when you look at just how much data DeepSeek is collecting. I mean, we're talking about everything here, your search history, your chats, even your keystroke patterns, and what you're doing on other apps.
Wow. So they're building up a really detailed profile of, huh, your habits online, even how you type. And what's interesting is that they call this profile a digital fingerprint. And they say this fingerprint can be used to track you even when you're not using DeepSeek. It's kind of creepy, right? Like having someone following you around the internet.
It is pretty unsettling.
Right.
And to make things even more, murky, I guess, DeepSeek's terms of service say that they operate under the laws of China. So that means, you're not necessarily getting the same level of data protection that you would from a company based in the US or Europe.
Yeah, I'm getting some serious TikTok and ByteDance vibes here. But this time it seems like there's a much clearer link to the Chinese government with this hidden code and the connection to China Mobile.
Yeah, you're right. There are definitely some similarities there. But it's important to understand that DeepSeek uses this specific type of AI called deep learning, which basically means it trains these artificial neural networks on huge sets of data. And this hidden code looks like it's designed to activate, under certain conditions, and then send little packets of data to cmpassport.com.
So it's not like it's sending all your data all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's picking and choosing what to send based on certain triggers. So the question is, what are those triggers and what exactly are they sending?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the fact that DeepSeek, its founder, and China Mobile have all been totally silent on this is just making it even more mysterious. They haven't responded to any journalists or researchers who've reached out to them for comment.
Yeah, that makes you wonder what they're trying to hide. So let's say this data really is being sent to China Mobile and potentially to the Chinese government. What could happen? What are the implications here?
Well, people are worried about a lot of things, from violations of individual privacy to, wider national security risks. We could be talking about surveillance data breaches and even this information being used for things like economic espionage or even political manipulation.
And it's not just about what they could do with your data today, right?
Yeah.
AI is getting more and more advanced all the time. So who knows what they could do with this data in the future?
Exactly. The possibilities are kind of endless, and that's what makes this so concerning. It's a stark reminder that we live in a world where data is king and our personal information is extremely valuable. It can be bought, sold, traded, and as we're seeing with DeepSeek, potentially exploited.
So for all of you listening out there, why should you care about this? Well, think about all the data you create every single day. Your searches, your emails, your social media posts, even your location data. All of that creates a picture of who you are, what you do, even what you think.
And if that picture falls into the wrong hands, it can be used against you. We've already seen examples of data breaches leading to identity theft, financial fraud, and even damage to people's reputations.
And what's especially scary about this DeepSeek situation is the possibility of a foreign government having access to all of this data.
Yeah.
I mean, the national security implications are huge, especially if they're getting their hands on sensitive information about individuals or businesses.
Absolutely. This raises a lot of questions about the security of things like our critical infrastructure, our intellectual property, and even our democratic processes. We're living in a time of, a lot of geopolitical tension, and data has become a major battleground.
So this app, this DeepSeek, that seems so harmless on the surface, it helps you write an email or plan a trip, it could actually be a pawn in a much bigger game with some really serious consequences. That's why it's so important to understand what's really going on with DeepSeek and what the risks are.
Yeah, this isn't just about one app or one company. It's about a much bigger trend of data collection and surveillance that's happening all around us. We need more transparency, more accountability, and more control over our own data.
Right. It's about knowing the risks and making smart choices about what technologies we use and what information we share. And it's about demanding better from the companies that collect and control all of this data.
Because in the end, what's at stake here is our privacy, our security, and our freedom.
So let's keep digging into DeepSeek, shall we? We'll explore the potential risks even more, and we'll talk about what steps you can take to protect yourselves in this data-driven world.
We're going to unravel all the complexities of data privacy, shine a light on those hidden dangers that are lurking in the digital shadows. And we'll give you the knowledge and the tools you need to navigate this constantly changing landscape with confidence.
So stay tuned because we're just getting started. Okay, so we've talked about some of the potential dangers of DeepSeek and that connection to China Mobile. But I want to shift gears for a minute and talk about, what made DeepSeek so popular in the first place.
Right. Well, DeepSeek has all these amazing features, that have caught people's attention all over the world. It can write your emails for you, generate creative content, translate languages, give you personalized recommendations. It's like it can do just about anything.
Yeah, it's like having a personal assistant in your pocket, right? Ready to tackle any task you give it. No wonder it's been downloaded so many times.
The interface is super easy to use, and the AI itself is incredibly advanced. It can understand really complicated queries, learn from your preferences, and even kind of anticipate your needs.
But all this convenience, it comes at a cost.
Hmm.
We've already talked about the data security risks, but what about the ethical implications of using such a powerful tool?
That's a really important point. Yeah, DeepSeek can definitely boost your productivity and make life easier, but it also makes you wonder, are we becoming too reliant on AI? And could it actually end up replacing human skills?
Like, for example, if we start relying on DeepSeek to write all our emails and create content for us, what happened to our own writing abilities? Or, our ability to think for ourselves?
That's a valid concern. We might become passive consumers of AI-generated content, and that could stifle our creativity and critical thinking skills.
And let's not forget about bias. AI systems are trained on huge data sets, and if those data sets have biases in them, then the AI will probably reflect those biases in its output.
Exactly. We've seen cases where AI systems have shown gender bias, racial bias, and other kinds of discrimination. So it's really important to be aware of these limitations, to think critically about the stuff DeepSeek generates.
So DeepSeek can be a useful tool, but it's not a magic solution. It's important to use it responsibly, ethically, and with a critical eye.
And to remember that it's just a tool at the end of the day. We're the ones who decide how to use it, and we need to make sure we don't become slaves to it.
Right. Okay, so let's get back to the security side of things. You mentioned earlier that DeepSeek collects a ton of data, including our digital fingerprint. Can you explain what that is and how it can be used?
Sure. So imagine your digital fingerprint as this unique identifier that separates you from every other user online. It's basically a collection of all your online activity, your browsing habits, your online purchases, your social media activity, even your physical location.
So it's like a digital mosaic of you, right? A portrait that can be used to track you, predict your behavior, and even target you with ads.
Exactly. And the more data DeepSeek collects, the more detailed and accurate this digital fingerprint becomes.
That's a little scary. Is there anything we can do to protect ourselves and limit the amount of data DeepSeek collects?
There are definitely some things you can do to minimize the risks. First of all, be careful about the permissions you give DeepSeek. Don't give it access to data that it doesn't actually need to work.
So like if I'm only using DeepSeek for writing, I don't need to give it access to my location or my social media accounts, right?
That's right. Be selective about the data you share, and always check the app's permissions before you give it access to anything.
What about using a VPN? I've heard those can help with online privacy.
A VPN or virtual private network can be really useful. It encrypts your internet traffic and hides your IP address, which makes it harder for DeepSeek to track your online activity.
So it's like creating a tunnel for your data so no one can see it.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. But even with a VPN, DeepSeek can still collect data about what you're doing within the app itself.
Are there any other tools or strategies we can use to improve our privacy?
Oh, definitely. For example, you could use a password manager to create strong, unique passwords for all your online accounts. This can help prevent unauthorized access to your data, even if DeepSeek were to be compromised.
So instead of using the same password for everything, which I know I do, a password manager can create and store complex passwords for each individual site.
That's right. And a lot of password managers also offer things like two-factor authentication, which adds another layer of security to your accounts.
Speaking of two-factor authentication, should we be using that for all our accounts?
Yeah, whenever possible. Two-factor authentication basically means you need to enter a special code, usually sent to your phone or email, in addition to your password. So even if someone gets your password, they still can't get into your account.
It's like having two locks on your door.
Exactly. And yeah, it might seem like an extra step, but it's worth it for the peace of mind.
Okay, so we've got VPNs, password managers, two-factor authentication. Any other tips you can give us for staying safe and protecting our privacy online?
Sure, just be careful about the information you share on social media. Don't post sensitive personal details or share your location in real time. Remember that anything you post online could potentially be seen by DeepSeek or other data collection companies.
So think before you post, right?
Exactly, and be wary of clicking on links that look suspicious or downloading apps from sources you don't trust. Those can be ways for malware or other cyber threats to get onto your device and compromise your data.
It's like playing digital dodgeball, trying to avoid those nasty attacks.
Yeah, and just like in dodgeball, the more aware you are of the threats and the better prepared you are to avoid them, the less likely you are to get hit.
So it's all about being proactive and informed, taking steps to protect ourselves in this digital jungle.
Exactly, and it's an ongoing process. The digital world is constantly changing, so we need to stay alert and adapt our security practices accordingly.
Yeah, it's like this never-ending game of cat and mouse with cyber threats always evolving and us trying to stay one step ahead.
That's a great analogy. But the good news is that we're not helpless in this game. By taking precautions and staying informed, we can significantly reduce our risk of becoming victims of cybercrime or data breaches.
We've uncovered some pretty worrying things about DeepSeek. But when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it feels like this is just the beginning. The tip of the iceberg when it comes to data privacy and AI.
Yeah, it's true. DeepSeek is just one example of a much bigger problem. We're seeing this global race to gather as much data as possible.
Yeah.
And companies and governments, everyone wants to use this data for their own benefit.
And AI is getting smarter all the time, right? It can process and analyze huge amounts of data in ways we never even imagined. And that raises some serious ethical and societal questions that we can't just ignore.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges is that we don't really have much transparency or control over how our data is being used. I mean, how often do you actually read those long terms of service agreements before you click accept?
Yeah, never. Right. It's like signing a contract in a language you don't understand. You just hope for the best, but you don't really know what you're agreeing to.
Exactly. We're basically handing over our digital lives to these companies without really knowing what they're going to do with it.
So what can we do about it? How do we take back control and make sure our data is being used responsibly?
Well, one thing we can do is push for stronger data privacy regulations. We need clear rules about how companies can collect, store, and use our data.
Like a digital bill of rights, outlining our fundamental rights to privacy and data protection.
Right. And these regulations need to have some teeth. There need to be real consequences for companies that break the rules.
But regulations alone might not be enough. We need to educate people about data.
Absolutely. Data literacy is so important. We need to understand the value of our data, the risks involved, and how we can protect our privacy.
It's like learning a new language, the language of data. Once you understand it, you can communicate better and stand up for your rights.
And like any language, it takes time and effort to learn. But it's worth it. When we're more data literate, we can make informed decisions about the technologies we use and the information we share.
So it's not just about waiting for governments or companies to do something. It's about taking responsibility for our own data and demanding transparency and accountability.
Exactly. We need to be active in shaping a future where data is used to empower people, not exploit them.
And that brings us back to DeepSeek. It might seem like a small thing in the grand scheme of things, But it shows us that the threats to our privacy in this data-driven world are very real.
Yeah, it's definitely a wake-up call. We need to be more critical of the technologies we use and the information we share.
So for anyone listening who has DeepSeek on their device, what should they do?
Honestly, I'd say uninstall it, at least until the company is more open about how it's collecting and using data.
And what about all the other apps and services we use?
Take some time to read their privacy policies, understand what permissions you've given them, and think about whether you're comfortable with the level of access they have.
It's about taking back control of your digital life and making conscious decisions about how your data is being used.
Remember, knowledge is power. And in the age of AI, that's more true than ever.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into DeepSeek and the bigger issue of data privacy in the age of AI. We've covered a lot today, from the hidden code and potential risks to the steps you can take to protect yourself. But this is just the start of the conversation.
We hope you'll keep learning about this topic. Stay informed about the latest developments in AI and data privacy, and keep pushing for better practices from the companies and governments that handle our data.
Because ultimately, our privacy isn't just a right, it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility we all share to create a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay empowered.